Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a chilling, seductive, and incredibly tense suspense story about a woman who stepped into a forbidden affair that pulled her into a world of lies, danger, and consequences she never saw coming. Nothing in her life would remain the same after the moment she crossed a line she swore she never would. And by the time she realized what she had stepped into, it was far too late to turn back. Ava Morgan was the kind of woman who could walk into a room and make the air shift. Confident, graceful, and effortlessly attractive, she carried a charisma that made people turn their heads without understanding why. But beneath all that confidence, Ava was exhausted from a life full of expectations she never asked for. At 29, she had a stable job, a beautiful apartment, and a routine that looked perfect from the outside but felt suffocating on the inside. Everything changed the day she met Adrian Hale. Adrian wasn't supposed to be a part of her life. He was her mother's ex-boyfriend, a man Ava barely knew, someone she had only seen in passing once or twice years ago. Her mother had ended things with him long ago, claiming he was too mysterious, too unpredictable, too emotionally closed off. Ava never thought about him again, until the night she ran into him by accident at a high-end art gallery downtown. She didn't recognize him immediately. He was taller than she remembered, sharper, with a quiet intensity that drew her attention before she even knew who he was. His eyes lingered on her a moment too long, not in a disrespectful way, but like he was studying her, trying to understand something about her that she didn't even understand herself. When he finally introduced himself, his voice was calm and deep, carrying the kind of confidence that made people lean in without meaning to. And when he said his name, Adrian Hale, she felt her stomach tighten in a way she couldn't explain. She should have left. She should have walked away before the conversation even began, but something about him made her stay. Their conversation flowed effortlessly, surprising her with how natural it felt. He wasn't over the top. He wasn't trying to impress her. He simply listened, responded, and held eye contact with a focus that made her pulse quicken. It had been a long time since someone looked at her like she mattered. And even though she knew she shouldn't feel that way, not about him, she couldn't deny the spark. One spark turned into curiosity. Curiosity turned into temptation. Temptation turned into a door she should never have opened. It started innocently, a coffee, a conversation, a shared laugh. Each time they met, they told themselves it was harmless. But the truth was clear from the moment they first locked eyes. It wasn't harmless at all. It was forbidden, a line drawn for a reason, and lines like that don't blur quietly. They shatter. Ava tried to fight it, but the more she tried to resist, the more she found herself drawn to him. Adrian had a way of speaking that made her feel seen. He understood her frustrations, her fears, her dreams. He never judged her, and he never pretended to be anything he wasn't. She knew he was older. She knew he was trouble. She knew her mother would lose her mind if she ever found out. And yet she kept answering his messages. Every meeting seemed to ignite something deeper, something neither of them admitted out loud. The tension built slowly, delicately, almost painfully, until the night everything finally snapped. It happened during a late dinner, hours after the restaurant had emptied. Adrian had leaned in closer as he spoke, unaware, or perhaps very aware, of how his presence affected her. She felt her breath shorten. She felt her heart pick up speed. And when their hands touched, even for a brief moment, it felt like the entire world froze. Ava knew it was wrong. Adrian knew it was dangerous, but the pull between them was stronger than either of their fears. That night, the line disappeared. Their affair began in secret, a dance in the shadows, filled with whisper, soft tension, and unspoken longing. Ava felt alive for the first time in years. Adrian, who had always lived with walls around him, found himself opening up in ways he never expected. They made each other reckless, but the problem with forbidden things is that they demand to be discovered. It didn't take long before small cracks began to appear. Ava started coming home later than usual. She tried to hide the glow on her face. She tried not to smile when she thought about him. But her mother wasn't blind. She noticed the changes, the excuses, the nervousness whenever she asked basic questions. The first warning sign came when Ava found an anonymous note slipped under her apartment door. "I know what you're hiding." There was no name, no signature, only those 5 words, enough to send a chilling wave down her spine. Ava tried to convince herself it was nothing, a prank, a misunderstanding, but the second note made the truth impossible to ignore. "Tell your mother before I do." That night, Ava called Adrian in a panic. He told her to stay calm, that it was probably someone who had seen them together and wanted to stir drama. But his voice didn't sound steady. She could hear something in it, fear, anger, or maybe guilt. Something he wasn't telling her. The third note was worse. A picture. Ava and Adrian at a cafe, sitting close, talking intimately. A red circle drawn around their hands. Ava felt her chest tighten painfully. Someone had been watching them, following them, studying them. This wasn't just gossip. This wasn't just a warning. This was a threat. Suddenly, the affair didn't feel exhilarating anymore. It felt dangerous. Ava demanded answers from Adrian, but he avoided certain questions, his eyes shifting with a heaviness she had never seen. He confessed that he had enemies, people who held grudges against him. Someone might be using Ava to get to him. That terrified her more than anything. She tried to walk away, to protect herself, to end whatever they had before it got worse. But walking away from Adrian was harder than she expected. Every attempt pulled them back into each other's orbit. The longing didn't disappear. The bond didn't break. Their connection was too deep, too intense, too tangled to sever cleanly. Then everything spiraled. One night, Ava returned home to find her mother sitting on the sofa with her phone in hand. Her expression cold, hurt, and furious. Someone had sent her the photo. Someone wanted to destroy everything at once. Her mother didn't yell. She didn't scream. That made it worse. She simply asked, "How long has this been going on?" Ava's throat tightened. She couldn't lie anymore. The truth came out in fragments, each piece hitting like a blow. The disappointment in her mother's eyes cut deeper than any threat ever could. Her mother demanded she stop seeing him immediately. She called Adrian dangerous, manipulative, unstable. Ava refused to believe it, until her mother revealed something Ava never expected. Adrian had a past she didn't know about, a past involving revenge, broken trust, and people he had hurt. People who might still be watching him, people who would have no problem dragging Ava into their war. Ava confronted him, desperate for the truth. Adrian finally opened up, slowly, reluctantly, painfully. Yes, he had enemies. Yes, he had made mistakes. Yes, he had been followed before. But he swore he never meant to put her at risk. He claimed he loved her. Ava didn't know whether to believe him. The next morning, another message arrived. "You chose the wrong man to love." This time, the note wasn't left at her door. It was sent directly to her phone, with a picture of her standing outside her building, taken just minutes before she received it. Someone was watching her in real time. Ava's world began to crumble. She moved with fear, jumped at shadows, checked every lock. Adrian insisted on protecting her, but she didn't know if staying close to him was the solution, or the danger itself. The tension between them grew sharp, strained, filled with doubt. Their forbidden affair, once thrilling, had become a trap neither of them knew how to escape. And then, everything broke in one violent moment. Ava returned home one night to find her apartment door cracked open. Her heart pounded as she stepped inside. The lights were off. The air was heavy. Something felt wrong. Adrian was inside, not waiting. Not calm, bleeding. He had been attacked. Someone had followed him. Someone had warned him that Ava was next. As she helped him, trembling and terrified, Adrian whispered the truth. They want to hurt me, and they'll come for you, because they know you matter to me. That was the first time Ava realized the full weight of the danger she was in, not because of the affair, not because of the secrecy, but because someone wanted revenge, and she had become the perfect target. The police were called, statements were taken, Adrian was taken to the hospital, and Ava's life flipped upside down. The forbidden affair that once made her feel alive now forced her to face a terrifying reality. Desire has consequences, secrets have shadows, and forbidden love can ignite dangers no one is ready for. She didn't know if Adrian would survive. She didn't know who had been watching them. She didn't know what would come next, but she knew one thing for sure. Crossing that line, falling for him, had changed her forever, and there was no going back.